Hello, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boscheman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive Podcast. In this episode of Numerology Quick Takes, we're going to take a look at what the week of August 4th could hold in store for us. Before we get into the forecast, this is, of course, a general reading. If you would like your own personal numerology reading, where we'll take a deep dive into your own personal numerology, please book some time with me. My information's in the description box below. Also, my book, Find Your Way in Love and Relationships with Numerology, is available for purchase, and you can find that information also in the description box below. And a big thank you to everyone who's already purchased it. I really appreciate your support. Okay, so this week of August 4th, first of all, happy August. Here we are. It's a bit lighter. It kind of brings in a lot more flowing energy. Things seem to kind of go our way. It can bring good news. It can bring just a lighter energy, an opportunity to get together with people, to laugh more, to not feel things so heavily. Rewards could come in at this time. We could see some kind of victory to some degree in our personal life, but also on the global stage. Things just feel, again, a bit more light and airy. This could be a time where things just kind of fall into your lap. Things feel very favorable at this time. And again, you could get some kind of good news, maybe expected or unexpected. Maybe you had applied for something or launched something and you're receiving very positive feedback from that. Or again, if you maybe had been waiting to hear the news on something, maybe you were waiting to hear someone's decision, whether you get the job or whether they're going to move forward with your idea or whatever. That could come in at this time, and it could be very favorable. And if for some reason it's not, this energy is very benefic. So it's giving you other options. It's kind of like maybe the thing didn't work out, but something else is coming in quite quickly, quite immediately following that sort of letdown. And you're able to kind of shift gears rather quickly because you're feeling excited about this new opportunity. Do you see what I'm saying? So if something doesn't work out, this energy is so uplifting that it will likely bring something to fill that void quite quickly that you can, get excited about. This is a time where, aiming and reaching high for those goals that you've been kind of striving for can kind of, this is a time where it could really pay off. And you could get that recognition, that honor that goes with reaching those goals, with that achievement that you've been striving for. This is a time where you could definitely enjoy the pleasures earned from your efforts. So if you've been putting in the effort, if you've been working hard, all those things, or let's say working in purpose. I don't really like the saying working hard, but if you've been working in purpose or feel like you have, this could be a time again where you see those efforts pay off and things kind of falling into alignment. Again, it's just such a beautiful energy for kind of bringing all the ingredients together in order to help us to finally make the cake. And not only just make the cake, but eat it and enjoy it as well. Difficult situations can be overcome at this time, and any disputes or any kind of arguments or miscommunication, that can all be settled at this time if both parties are willing to have the conversation, sit down, iron things out, figure it out, and move forward. And you can come out on top from that. And what I mean by that is you can feel good about the resolution. You can feel good about the direction that things are moving in. Again, even if it's not the direction you might have chosen, or maybe it's not your first choice, you can feel good about the closure that's coming in, about the way that things are being, fulfilled at this time. Even again, if it's not what you might have initially wanted, it's something that you can feel good about. This is also one of those times where you could find friends or acquaintances or colleagues are very helpful, willing to come in and assist wherever they can. And I'm not saying that they weren't before, but this is a time where either they might recognize where they can bring their strengths to the table, or where you recognize where you need some assistance and you're willing and ready to ask for that assistance. And I think you'll find that the people are very happy to show up in that way and to assist however they can. So, whether it's socially or in business matters, this is a time to ask and you shall receive. Also, this is a time where I would say, find ways to collaborate, find ways to come together, to compromise, to seek that common ground. Ultimately, we're working with that 3 and the 2, right? 32-5. So there's a lot here about like interrelationship, connecting with others, collaborating, brainstorming, sharing ideas, getting different perspectives on things. And again, coming together, finding greater balance and peace and harmony in that exchange. It doesn't have to be done one specific way, and it doesn't have to be done your way or the other person's way. There can be this alchemy that takes place, and you can kind of merge your ideas and your energy and again collaborate for something greater, for something better. And again, we could see this play out on the global stage in some way, where we see people coming together more, where we see people kind of tired of the division and the bickering and the fighting and all the things. And, the greatest power lies within the people collectively, right? Coming together. When people come together, great change can occur. And, ultimately we're working with that 5 vibration that brings in the change. But again, we have the 3 and the 2, which brings in the people, which brings in, again, collaborating, working together, recognizing our differences and celebrating those differences, but also recognizing, what we have in common and connecting on that commonality. So it's a really beautiful energy for healing, for, again, strengthening ties, for compromise, for conversation, and greater communication. Again, with that 3 energy, this is about having the conversation to understand where the change needs to occur so that we can make the change together. And this is a very powerful energy, but it has to be put to use, right? This is an energy that's not going to do the work for us. We have to find the areas where the conversation needs to be had. We need to find the areas where we need to find common ground and come together to make it happen. If we're too focused on ourselves, if we're too focused on our personal individual needs, that we disregard the needs of the community, then this energy we're not going to get the greatest bang for our buck, so to speak. We're not going to see those, the greatest potential play out with this energy. This is a time where we have to actively seek out the common ground. Where is it that we can make a compromise? Not a sacrifice, a compromise. Where is it that we can find ways to build the bridge as opposed to continue to burning them down? So it's a very powerful energy for unity, coming together. Again, recognizing the power of the collective or the power of community. And that community really only happens with the conversation, because it's with the conversation that we start to understand what others need and that we're able to express our own needs. So very, very powerful here. But again, if we don't utilize the energy to the fullest, we're not going to see the greatest results that this energy can bring forth. It takes the individual to show up with the intention of coming together with others, regardless of differences, regardless of past actions, and finding some kind of greater balance, healing, unity through that conversation. So very, very powerful energy this week. And it's through that we will see greater joy and harmony and, again, greater rewards and greater victory. Because true victory is about what serves all, not just what serves one individual. It's not about one person standing on the podium and winning. It's about all winning, right? When the community is taken care of, then that is a victory. That is a victory. When an individual is the one who's winning, that's not a victory for all. That's a victory for that one person, and that's not a victory. So it's an opportunity to not just kind of look at the global stage and see where we need some change and some shifts, and where we can contribute towards that. But it's also an opportunity to look at our own personal community, right? Our sense of community, and where it is that we can show up in a way that takes our needs into consideration and advocates for those needs, but also is considerate of the needs of others and considerate of how our actions affect others. And what does that look like, and what changes need to be made there as well, and what kind of conversation needs to be had. But also at the heart of this, right, we have the 3 and the 5 coming together. And so both of these are about authenticity, about uniqueness, about, again, celebrating our differences. Like, it's not about conforming and being just like everybody else. And I know that sounds so trite because it's so often said, but it's so true. Like, how boring if we all look alike, act alike, think alike, how boring this world would be. And it's not even possible, without faking it. So the 3 and the 5 coming together is like pushing us to be ourselves, to celebrate our uniqueness, to celebrate the gifts that we came here to share in whatever way that looks, right? And to not be shamed for that, to overcome the obstacles in order to sort of achieve that great freedom of being able to express who we truly are at the heart of who we are. And to celebrate those differences, not only in ourselves, but in others as well. And that's where we start to find the beauty. That's where we start to see all those ingredients coming together to bake the most beautiful cake that we can all enjoy, right? That's what the 32-5 really aims at. And so when I'm talking about like success and rewards and victory, it's really about, again, the success and the victory and the rewards that not only we're going to reap, but our community can reap as well. And it might be driven by our actions, by our individual actions that bring in that greater success and rewards, but it's not just for us to celebrate, right? There's a lot here about coming together, communicating, being curious, seeking out understanding, and overcoming the ignorance or the selfishness that drives that individual action. Yeah, it's a really beautiful energy. When we use it for what it's meant to be used for, when we work with the energy. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, especially on the global stage. Will there be more coming together, more unity, less separation? I think people are so tired of, again, the fighting and the separation and the, just fighting because of differences. It's so ridiculous. We need to evolve. And that's the beauty about the 5. It's about progression. It's about evolution. It's about doing things differently and being unconventional in our approach to get different results, right? So much of the results that we're seeing on the global stage are the same tired, awful results we've been getting for thousands of years. It's time for some kind of progressive change, some kind of change that takes into consideration the community. And this 32-5 is pushing us in that direction. Now, again, it's only over the course of a week, but a lot of seeds can be planted in a week. A lot of action can be taken for good in the span of a week. And again, it's the individual contribution that has the greatest impact. So we have that responsibility. And the 32-5 reminds us of that. And we can always see like how the individual actions are truly where we're at in our growth and our evolution by how the collective is behaving, because that individual action feeds into the collective. And when enough individuals are in a higher octave, moving towards change and pushing for something better, we start to see that in the collective. So very powerful energy here, but it does require us to look at our own actions, look at the effects of those actions, and take responsibility and accountability for that, and have consideration for how our actions may affect another, and to have that level of curiosity that pushes us to try to, again, understand the differences of others and celebrate those differences, because that's where the gold is. That's where the good stuff is. It's not in what we've been made to believe is the good stuff. And with saying all this is a week where I would say, because we can see those rewards and that victory and that success come flowing in, or because things seem to be working in our favor, this is a time where you want to be careful about pride and to not get too big of a head when it comes to your accomplishments, to remember that, as you stand on the podium, you didn't get there by yourself. There was a lot of people along the way that helped you to achieve whatever it is that you're achieving at this point in time. Whether you recognize that or not, there were a lot of people along the way that helped to lift you up to put you on that podium. So careful about pride, careful about, again, kind of letting it go to your head. Kind of the best way to receive this energy and really work with it is to celebrate these successes, whatever's coming in, and then find a way to circulate that abundance, that success, that energy with others in some way. I saw something the other day, and I wish I could remember who said it, but he said, "What you do for me, I will find a way to do for others." Or the good you do for me, I will find a way to do for others. And I think that's such a beautiful energy. And this 32.5 really promotes that, where it's like, what you're able to receive from your actions, the goodness that you get from other people. When doors are open for you, can you open doors for others at this time? Like, it's not just about, even though society has gotten to a point where we're so individualized and we're so sort of self-centric, this energy is pushing us to formulate that community, to come back to the community. If we're succeeding, let's make sure everyone else is succeeding as well. Because that's true success. So the goodness that comes your way, find ways to circulate that this week, and I would say always, but this is a time to receive the goodness, but also share the goodness. So yeah, just be careful about being overly prideful this month, or this week, or overly arrogant, I would say. Because that can cause some delays, and that can cause some issues that don't need to be there. This is such a beautiful energy. Don't ruin it by coming into that self-centeredness. The other thing I'll say about this energy that I absolutely love is it's really an opportunity for the veil to be a little bit thin and your soul to work through you. So in other words, your soul is the one who's in the driver's seat. So let your soul take the wheel and drive. Put your ego in the back seat, put it in the passenger seat, make it walk, but allow your soul to be in the driver's seat. And you'll know that your soul is in the driver's seat because you will feel called to do everything I just talked about, right? To receive the goodness, but then circulate the goodness, to find ways to celebrate your differences, your uniqueness, and also celebrate that within others, to find ways, to be curious about others and, what the community needs, having those conversations, coming together, finding ways for greater peace, harmony, balance, and progression and evolution, finding ways to do things through communication that are different, that are progressive, that are unconventional, that will get different results. And you can, this translates into any area of your life that it needs to. if you're trying to do it all yourself, if you're trying to, get that success or get to that pot of gold by yourself, you're just not going to have the same satisfaction as you would if, you work with others, you communicate with others, you understand others, and you all get there together and then reap the rewards together. It's a really beautiful energy. Yeah, there are no podiums here. This is one where it's like everyone wins when we can communicate and come together and have that be the goal. So yeah, let your soul take the wheel. Let your soul be in the driver's seat this week. And I think you'll be so pleased with what the results are. So I hope it's a great week. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.